So now let's talk about Snapchat. So Snapchat is not just for kids anymore. So Snapchat is actually turning into a really powerful tool for social media marketers. And so we're going to take some of those best practices and leverage them for your political campaign. So a big call out here for Snapchat is that it's not for getting new followers. It's for increasing loyalty among your followers. There's one little caveat to that, and in our strategy, we'll talk about adding new people to Snapchat, so we'll cover that later. But aside from that little strategy that I recommend, this isn't the best way to gain new followers, people that have never heard of you. It's a way to deepen and strengthen relationships with existing followers. So we'll talk all about that in just a moment. But just at a high level, Snapchat isn't, the content that you produce on Snapchat, it's not easily shared with other people. It's not like Facebook, how it's this big open platform and like I post like a beautiful picture on there and someone is like, oh, that's cute, and then they share it to their own Facebook wall, and then everyone can see like, oh, Chris Moore like took this beautiful picture. Let me click on it and see who Chris Moore is. And it's not like that. It's much more about like one-on-one interaction. And when you are sharing stuff to your followers, they see it, they consume it, and then they can't do anything else with it. They can't share it anywhere else. So a big plus here for you is that it gets you very comfortable using the camera and recording video, and that's a pretty integral part of the social media strategy that I'll be laying out here in a moment. The overarching strategy is recording video on your phone, and this gets you very, very comfortable with that, which is really critical. So that's another reason why we love Snapchat for our campaign. Okay, so here is just a brief overview of Snapchat's layout. So it's different than a lot of other social media. So for those of you that aren't familiar with Snap, here where it says number 1, so this is the home screen. When you open up the app, this is what you're going to see. So it opens up to your camera straight away. So you open it up and you see whatever your camera sees. And there's the button, that like circular button at the bottom in the middle. That's how you take a picture, or you hold it down to take video. If you swipe to the right, it brings you over to the left. So if you can imagine this screen number 1 as like one pane, you swipe over to the one to the left, and that's where all of your chats are. So that's people that you've been chatting with back and forth, and that's how you can initiate a chat with other people as well. On the opposite side of that, so on like screen number 4 here, that's where stories appear. So stories is just like all of your snaps that you've done over the past 24-hour period. So your stories will appear over there, as well as all of the stories of your friends. So that's how you keep up with people on Snapchat, is via their stories or one-on-one messaging. Screen number 5, who cares? We don't need it. Screen number 3 is more of like the settings and the menu. So you don't swipe up to get there or down. This is a little bit dated, but there's a little like Snapchat ghost icon in the top left-hand corner of the home screen. You click on that, and then that brings you to this screen number 3 at the top, which is where you can like go over the settings and add friends and stuff. So we'll talk about that screen more when we get into like how to like add people and do the overarching strategy. So big call out here for Snapchat. So Snapchat, as I said, it's instrumental in my recommended overarching media strategy that I'm going to present in the next lesson 4. So if you're not comfortable with Snapchat, then you're not really going to be able to use the strategy that I'm going to outline in the next lesson, which I think is really like foundational for running a good social media campaign, which is becoming more and more critical to any campaign, whether it's a political campaign or a business campaign, advertising campaign. So all that to say is get comfortable with Snapchat because it's going to be really helpful. It's going to be your friend. Okay, so some best practices for Snapchat. First here is be super candid. So people expect on a platform like Facebook that it's going to be a little bit more curated, it's going to be a little bit more polished, and it's going to be the buttoned up version of you. Snapchat, people are expecting, because it's more of a private setting and it's more one-on-one, people are going to be expecting you to be very candid with them. And that's why a lot of people will use Snapchat and keep up with your stories, is because they know that they're getting this almost like behind the scenes authentic look at you. So be very candid. Of course, be careful and don't say anything that you don't want out there. Snapchats do disappear, but there are ways of making it not disappear and hanging on to it. And if you say something really crazy on there, people will record it. It will live on forever. So don't forget about that. Okay, another like second best practice here is not to do really, really long posts. So Snapchat will automatically like record multiple, if you're making a video, it will record multiple snaps that all kind of string together into one video. But in general, don't do anything that's over like a minute. Tops like 2 minutes, I guess. Snapchat's not the forum for that. If you want to create a video that long, great. Make a video and then post it on Facebook. And what this does is it really trains you to get right to the point of whatever you want to talk about. So do that. Get straight to the point. This isn't like, beating around the bush, the big fluffy, long speech. You get directly to the point of whatever it is you want to say or whatever it is you want to show. You do it immediately. And of course, you want to make sure that you have really great lighting. Snapchat, a lot of it is going to be like a selfie. It's going to be a close-up on your face talking. So make sure that you have really great lighting. If you're inside, walk over to a window and use the natural light, like square directly on your face. If you're outside, then just make sure you go somewhere where you're not backlit. And if you can, set it up that you have a pretty background and set it up that way. Just be cognizant of like where the light is coming from and what's in the background. So these are the 3 golden criteria that I use for anything in social media. So only post something if it is useful, interesting, or fun. Or better yet, all 3 of them. So take a really good, ask it honestly and ask it like, sternly to yourself. Like, is this useful for my followers? Is it interesting or is it fun? And if it's not any of those, like, if it's like, oh, well, it's 50% interesting. No, then just don't post it. So that follows here for Snapchat as well. And of course, with anything that you're putting out there, think about your brand. And that goes back to the campaign message that we developed, all the branding that we did for like website and the look and feel of all of your assets. So that should carry through here to your Snapchat as well. That doesn't mean like every snap that you make, you have to be wearing the like right colors of your brand or no. But if the tone of your brand is like thoughtful, considerate, contemplative, because perhaps you're running to replace someone who is the opposite of that, is like very crass and says whatever the hell they want, they're like all the time, then your Snapchat should come off like pretty thoughtful and contemplative, and that the same like tones should go through everything. It shouldn't be a wild departure from who you're portraying yourself to be in other media. So think about your brand. And then as we've mentioned before with other media, you'll want to do a mix of campaign, like, political campaign content and non-campaign. So some people have said 60% personal, 40% business, or in this case, campaign. And I think that that's a pretty good mix. So if you're going to dive into using Snapchat a bunch, which I do recommend you do, then just know that you will have more success, and it's best recommendation that you talk about personal stuff on there too. So talk about the campaign, of course, but really develop a personal relationship with your followers. Okay, you can also make Snapchat really action oriented. And by this we mean if you're needing donations or volunteers or whatever it is you're trying to get people to do for you, then you can, start it out by making a call out about it, talking about it, and then you can put links in Snapchat now too, where if people swipe up, it will take them to whatever hyperlink that you've put on there. So you can utilize that functionality. And I'd say you want some of your snaps to be action oriented, maybe 20% or less. Otherwise, people don't want to tune in to you just asking them to do stuff all the time. Like I said, people use Snapchat and follow you because they feel like they're getting this behind the scenes, one-on-one interaction with you. And so they don't want a behind the scenes one-on-one interaction with someone that's just constantly hitting them up for donations or telling them to come down and phone bank at their office. So some of the stuff you can use it for is for volunteer recruitment, for driving attendance at events that you're hosting, and for fundraising, of course. You can do something that's sweepstakes style, so make a contest out of this, make a game out of it. You can also, if you have a bunch of people on Snap and you want to make sure that they're on your email list to get more official communications from the campaign, you can also add people to email lists and such by using these callouts from Snapchat. So how do you get people to follow you on Snapchat? If Snapchat isn't really connected to a lot of other social media, how do you get people on there? Well, that's the tough part with Snapchat. So we'll talk about the traditional ways of doing it, and then we'll talk about the format that I've outlined for you guys in this sort of secret sauce, I'm calling it. So Snap is different, of course, as we've been saying. First thing you can do is have your friends and family add you on there, of course, and that'll get you going. And then you can post your Snap code on other platforms. So what's a Snap code? So when you go to your home, or from Snapchat, when you go to your friends, excuse me. Let's just back up here and I'll show you what a Snap code is. So up here, screen number 3, that yellow block with the white ghost on it. So on your profile, where that white ghost is, that'll be your face or your avatar or whatever you put in there. But this whole image, this yellow block with these black dots, that is unique to you. That's as unique as a barcode. So you can think of that like a barcode. So when someone opens up Snapchat, if you took that yellow block and you printed it and just set it on a table, if somebody opened up Snapchat and they came over and took a picture of it, then Snapchat would instantly recognize that and it would pull up your profile, and then you can just hit, and then that person would be able to just hit add and they'd be able to follow you on Snapchat. That's what that thing is. It's the Snapchat camera can recognize what that is, and it automatically goes to your profile. It's pretty cool. So let's go back where we were. So you can take that Snap code, that yellow block Snap code, and you can put it on other platforms, like on your Facebook profile or LinkedIn or wherever. You can take that Snap code and you can put it on materials. So if you're a really active Snapchatter and you're finding it to be a really valuable channel for you, valuable media for you, then maybe you want to start putting your Snap code on mailers that go out, or on like literature drops, or on your website. I mean, it looks a little bit funny, that like yellow block, but people know what it is for the most part, that are engaged in social media, and it's not like you're doing anything on there you want to hide. But it does look funny. It's like a bright yellow thing, and when people don't know what it is, they're like, what the hell is that? But you could consider putting it on your materials. I don't think it's a bad idea. You can talk about Snapchat being this like exclusive, like little club almost, where your like most loyal followers get to talk to you and see what's up behind the scenes in your life, and then talk about that in other platforms. Say like, oh well, this is a special thing we did for just the Snapchat followers, but if you guys don't follow me on Snap, you wouldn't know. But if you do want to follow me on Snap, here's how you can do it. You can make Snapchat the easiest way for people to reach you personally for like a one-on-one conversation. So if you tell people, like if you're not able to respond to Facebook comments or all of your email that comes in, or text messages or whatever. Sorry guys, I know I've said it before, but I'm still getting over this sickness and it's a little bit rough. If it seems like I'm fading, it's my voice. I can feel it getting tired. So I'm gonna call it quits on this lesson here in just a little bit. I think we're getting to the end of it soon, so sorry about that. So you could, as we said, make Snapchat the easiest way for people to reach you personally, one-on-one, and then they'll be more likely to go follow you on Snapchat. So let's get into my secret sauce I was talking about for gaining Snapchat followers. So here's the main outline, and we'll illustrate this a little bit more too on the next slide. So what you do is you start with your voter database. We've talked about the voter database a lot. So everybody that's an eligible voter in your district that might be voting for you. So start with that. Then you'll identify supporters or highly likely supporters that have a phone number. It says cell phone number here, but if your data doesn't distinguish between cell phones or landlines, then just any voter that you have a phone number for that is a likely supporter or has been identified as a supporter. So you narrow the voter database down to that, and just people in your district, obviously, and then export that to an Excel sheet, and then you're going to make a generic voter contact list out of that. So say in your district you've identified, say there's like 10,000 registered voters in your district, and you've narrowed it down to like 30% of people that are likely going to support you. And you know your voters in your district a lot better than I do. Narrow that down however you see fit, probably by party affiliation. So take the 30% of those. So now you have 3,000 voters in this list. And then take the ones that only have phone numbers for them. So let's say that gives you 2,000. So you take those 2,000 people, and then you put them, you export them into this Excel sheet, just a plain Excel sheet, or you can use another spreadsheet software like Google Sheets. Then you make a generic list out of this. So take the voter file, those 2,000 voters, get rid of their name and any other information except for their phone number. You just want the phone number. And then in the name column, just put voter, you just do like a generic tag for it. So just put like voter 00001, voter 00002, voter 00003, etc. So that will give you a generic list of something that just says voter, 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 and then a phone number associated with it. Excuse me. So now you have this as an Excel sheet. And then you take that Excel sheet of contacts, of generic contacts with the phone number, and then you import that to your cell phone contacts. So there's no like real correct or easy way to do this, and it depends on what kind of phone you have. There's different like software that's been created to do it, and there's some like free options that I've seen, but you just have to figure out the best way to do that for your phone, and it's not going to be like a one perfect answer, and you might have to buy like a little piece of software for like $5 or $10 or $15 or something to do it, but I would recommend doing that. It would be money well spent. So now you have these like 2,000 voters with generic names and and phone numbers, and now they are in your phone. So when you open up your phone and it says contacts, you have all of your regular contacts in there. By the way, use your campaign cell phone that we talked about for this, so that you're not loading up your personal cell phone with like 2,000 people you don't know. So then when you open up your contacts, you see your regular contacts that are in there, and then this like voter 1, voter 2, voter 3, voter 4, voter 5. And then you open up Snapchat, and then you add those people in Snapchat, add them as contacts that you're following in Snapchat. Okay, and then I have a call out here is do not add by phone number. So let me show you this like a little bit more graphically. So you start with the voter database, and you narrow it down to supporters and or likely supporters of you. Then you take that and you put it into an Excel sheet, and then cut out all the data except for like a generic name like voter 1, etc., and a phone number. I wouldn't recommend having any kind of spaces in there or something. Do it like voter, if you have like 5,000 people, then do like voter 0001, so it's like 4 digits. And then their phone number, single column for the phone number. Now you take that and sync it to your phone's contacts. And this is where you're gonna have to figure out what works best for you. And you might have to buy like a little piece of software to do it, but it shouldn't cost you more than like $10. So now all these voters are in your cell phone, and you don't really know who they are. You just know that they had a phone number associated with their voter file and that they are likely supporters of you, or they've been identified as supporters of you. And then you open up Snapchat and you add them on Snapchat. And when you add them, they are highly likely to add you back. So now you've ended up with more followers on Snapchat who are registered voters who are likely to vote and vote for you. So this little process, this last part, add them on Snapchat, I'm going to show you the screens of how you do that, because that's the part where you want to be pretty careful. So from the settings screen on Snapchat, from the home screen, you click on the top left-hand corner, the little white ghost brings you to a like settings type screen. You click on add friends. So that's where we're at here on this side. So I screenshotted this from my phone. You see I have like little blue boxes because I just don't want to show people's name that are in my phone out of their privacy. So then you click on my contacts. So you ignore this section down on the bottom where it says quick add, just ignore that. Click here where it says my contacts, and then it will bring you to this screen where it says add from contacts. So you see here where it says Snapchatters in my contacts. So what Snapchat's gonna do, it's gonna look through all of the contacts in your phone. So those 2,000 people that you imported from the voter file that had phone numbers, Snapchat is looking at all 2,000 of those phone numbers, and it's comparing it to its database of its like hundreds of millions of users. And if one of those phone numbers matches with one of their like hundreds of millions of users and their phone number, then it'll say, aha. So this person that you had in your contacts, they're already using Snapchat, and they're right here. So that's what it says, Snapchatters in my contacts. So then what you're gonna do is you're gonna go through and just click add on every single one of these people. So out of those out of those 2,000 people that you imported into your phone, basically at no cost, unless you have to buy that little piece of software for like $10, because it could be 2,000, 3,000, 4,000, 5,000, however many it is. There's like no cost to it. And I think most smartphones have like a ridiculously high number of contacts that you can have in your phone. But the reason that we put generic names on it, you know, voter 1, voter 2, voter 3, voter 4, is that if you do reach some sort of limit on your phone, or like in capacity to add on Snapchat or something, you can do it in chunks, and then you know which chunk that you went to. Like, you know, voter number 1 through 500 I imported in this time, and now I'm going to do like 501 to 1,000, etc. So you go through and you add all of them. As you're scrolling down where it says Snapchatters in my contacts, at a certain point, you're going to reach the end of it. And you can see here on this third screen, we've reached the end of Snapchatters in my contacts. And then you get to this part that says add by phone number. So this is people that are in your contacts that are not on Snapchat. So Snapchat looks at this phone number, this 202-702, whatever the last 4 was. So it takes that phone number, 202, yada, yada, and then it compares it to its database of hundreds of millions of users, compares it against all of those phone numbers, and then it says like, oh, okay, well, I didn't see anybody that has this phone number that's already using Snapchat. So that person's not already a Snapchatter. And when you see the little button to the right where it says invite, if you were to click on invite, it would send a text message to that person from you saying, hey, I'm using Snapchat and I want you to join me on there. So you're sending, and then at that point, what you're doing is you're sending an unsolicited text message to a voter that has not given you permission to text them. And that is a violation of the law, and you can get fined for it. So don't do that. This part here where it says add by phone number, this is a no-no. So you're not texting these people, you're not inviting these people, because then you're sending unsolicited text messages to people that have not asked to sign up, or that have not like explicitly signed up to receive text from you. Adding people on social media, like we were doing in this center screen, these people are already on Snapchat. And when you add them, you're not sending them a text message, you're not calling them, you're not sending them an email, you're not doing anything like that. So you're not like actively soliciting these people. You're just following them on a social media that they're choosing to be on. And then if they want to approve you, then they can approve you. And then if they want to add you back, they can add you back. But data shows that when you do add people on Snapchat, they are likely to add you back and then watch your stories and see what you're all about. Okay, so that is it for the social media section. As always, if you have any questions, comments, etc., put them in the comments section over here. All right, thanks guys. We'll see you in the next lesson where we go over the big overarching strategy for how I think you should use social media on your political campaign in like a big sort of like ecosystem. So these are all the nitty-gritty tips and tricks on how to use Facebook and Snapchat on your campaign. Next lesson, we're going to tie everything together. All right, thanks guys.